Hello, everybody! Flash Notion here, and I'm kinda tired, which is one reason why I'm recording using this format, where it's not uh, yeah, it's not the VTuber model. It's the old format. Yes, I'm tired. I'm frustrated. OBS decided to update. None of the plugins updated. Uh, and therefore, everything got fucked completely. I had to redo the screen capture for the actual uh like things that I react to. I don't know how else to refer to it, but yeah. So, after fiddling with that for far too fucking long, um, I've finally gotten it back to where it's more or less where it was, and it's, all working again. So I'm actually ready to record now. Or rather, I'm able to record. I was ready to record like fucking however many hours ago it was, and then, yeah, shit went sideways. Right, so that whole anecdote aside, uh, Marvel stuff. Yeah. Um, I don't know why every time I take a break, it seems like Marvel is what drags me back, but you know what? I suppose that's one good thing to come out of the Phase 4 plus beyond whatever release schedule that Marvel has had. I don't have to wait very long before there's a new movie that I feel compelled to react to. Because, I can't go see these fuckers in theaters. I don't have the fucking money, and I just don't trust people. Um, right, so, this time, it's Thor Love and Thunder! Yay! I am I'm hopeful for this to be a good one, but I have heard some things that make me my expectations are lowered. I've heard that it's a lot of what we got in Ragnarok, but more, and therefore not as good somehow. Like, I don't know. I loved Ragnarok. Ragnarok is top tier Marvel. I mean, if I just bring up the list of Marvel stuff, because I have it all downloaded here, like I don't know if Ragnarok is like my actual favorite thing that has come out of the MCU. Um, Honestly, I honestly lean towards Shang-Chi being my absolute favorite at this point, because that movie is just whew, super good. Um, but Thor Ragnarok is up there, and I really liked Taika Waititi. I think he does a good job in a lot of things. And love Ragnarok was basically his first big budget Hollywood movie, and so like with as successful as it was, I can understand why he would want to do that but more. Um, and like I don't know if it's just a case of like people's personal preferences are not allowing them to enjoy it, and those people are more vocal than the ones who did enjoy it, or if it's a case of like, yeah, it's actually just too much. Um, I don't know. I don't know. Either way, the trailers for this movie were certainly interesting. I know we've got the other gods there, from other pantheons, which is amazing. I don't know if we're introducing Hercules yet. Um, that would be awesome if we were, because Marvel's Hercules is just a lot of fun. Um, but if we're not, that's fine, I guess. Maybe he'll show up in like the next big thing like this. I don't know. Obviously, I know the villain, Gore the God Butcher. I did not read that comic run, but I have been aware of Gore as a character pretty much ever since then, simply because of how much hype there was around the character. Um, and yeah, I mean, frankly, it's a cool idea. Just someone who goes beyond just, you know, n- not wanting to believe or worship in gods, looping. They go back around to like, okay, gods do exist, but they're all assholes, so I'm going to take up arms against them. Um, yeah, that's just like a really cool idea. Uh, I I don't know if it's necessarily the best time for the MCU to introduce such a character. I feel like establishing the various pantheons maybe should come before we start killing them off. um, but that's a different issue right there. The most interesting thing about Gore to me is his connection to Null. I've talked about Null before because he's kind of a big deal. In the comics, Null has basically been the latest big bad of the Marvel Universe, um, and one of the biggest bads to ever exist in Marvel. He's someone who's on the level of like the I don't know if he's like on the level of the Anti-Monitor or Darkseid from DC, but I mean he's a primordial god of darkness who wants to destroy all life and light in the entire multiverse. Um so there is that. He's the arch enemy of the Celestials. He's the one who cut off the head of the Celestial that became nowhere, from the first Guardians movie. Um, at least in the comics he was. And like he he's the creator of the symbiotes, which we now know that one of them exists in the MCU now because, uh No Way Home happened. um but like we also had in the Eternals, we had the Black Knight tease, who his sword also relates back to Null and the symbiotes. And to loop this back around, Gore the God Butcher became a threat because of his weapon, the Necro Sword, which in the comics was created by Null. And we have heard it mentioned in the MCU before that Necro Swords are a thing. More specifically in the episode of What If, where the Collector was the big bad guy. He said that Hela's helmet was a Necro Sword. So my theory ever since the trailer was that Gore was going to find Hela's helmet, and that was how he was going to get his sword. Um, yeah. So I've heard both good things and bad things about Gore in this movie. I've heard that the performance from Christian Bale is good. I've also heard that they don't quite do the character justice as he was in the comics. But, take that with a grain of salt because the MCU has been changing characters from their comics versions forever. Like, seriously, there's not a single character in the entire MCU that is 100% comic accurate. I'd say at most maybe 60% comic accurate at the moment. Maybe later we'll get some stuff, but for now, a lot of the portrayals of characters in the MCU have been very different from the comics. Um, so yeah. Other than that, I mean, obviously Jane Foster is going to be back. We got Natalie Portman to return, and she got buff, and it was really cool. Everybody was freaking out about her biceps for like a good month or so leading up to the release. You know, and I'm not going to pretend that that wasn't really cool to see. Um, you know, I mean, Natalie Portman has always been Natalie Portman, but like, yeah, I'm not going to deny that like buff ladies are kind of cool sometimes. I don't know how to put that without sounding weird, but like, yeah, no, I mean, I was excited by it. We'll go with that. Um, so yeah, I look forward to seeing her return. I look forward to seeing her as Thor and whether or not they keep the cancer storyline, because I mean that was a thing in the comics. Um, yeah, this is, you know, a movie, so it's going to be long. That's the other reason why I am recording it in this format instead, keeping up keeping up with the camera. I mean, it hurt my neck. It hurts my neck just doing the short recording, so I can't imagine the long ones would be even better, or would be any better. So for this one, for now I'm just gonna go with this old format and have a little fun with it. All right. I think that's enough talking. Let's actually watch the movie, shall we? Yes, we shall. So switch over. Okay, and now we shall get started. In 3, 2, 1, play. Oh shit. Right, did it work? Okay, we're back. And it actually hasn't been that long. I didn't exactly lie. I kind of expected there to be more material to go over, more controversy, more takes, I guess. Um, but simple fact is that while people didn't really like this movie as much as previous ones, they didn't hate it either. Um, and yeah, I mean, I think it was good, but I do think there were some things that held it back. Some negative elements. One of those would be that, yeah, a lot of stuff felt like it went by too quickly. The pacing of this film was really weird. Um, and also, while I appreciate the humor in the movie, there are a lot of parts of this movie, especially when Korg is narrating. I wanted to add an L in there for some reason. Anyways, those parts, they feel more like a parody. They feel like something out of Deadpool. They feel like somebody is taking a story that actually happened and telling their own version of it, and doing so in a way that kind of undersells it. Makes it out to be more ridiculous than what it should have been. Um, like you know the Ant-Man movies when Luis is telling his stories and all the characters do these overly exaggerated motions in order to match Luis's voice. Like, that's what this felt like, except without that clear, that, like, it wasn't clear that's what was happening. So it reaches this weird point where it's like, it feels like that sort of story parody, but it's not presented that way, I guess. I don't know. Basically, what I'm getting at is that once I realized how that was feeling to me, I kind of took a step back while watching it, and I started viewing this as like, this isn't actually what was happening for the most part, but rather this is like Korg telling us the story as he knows it. Like I guess another example of that would be in the movie 300, right? By Zack Snyder, of course. At the end of that movie, it's revealed that the entirety of what happened was just a tall tale being told by a Spartan soldier turned general who actually left the battle like a third of the way through before all of the supposed fantastical stuff happened. So in that, like, in 300, it was more like he was making stuff up, talking out his ass, but here it's more like just embellished by Korg's nature. Which, yeah, that's how I chose to view most of the scenes. There are a few scenes, however, that didn't quite follow that. Scenes that felt a lot more genuine, a lot more heartfelt. And I really have to wonder which of the writers, because obviously, Taika Waititi got a writing credit, but there was another person there who got a writing credit. And so I have to wonder which of them was responsible for what elements, or if they, worked together on it properly. I'd actually love to see a behind-the-scenes documentary about the making of this movie specifically, which I'm sure there is on Disney Plus. So next time I go over to my friend's house who has Disney Plus, I'll be sure to ask him if he can show me that. But like, yeah, I don't know. Because on the one hand, you have the scene on the boat between Thor and Jane, which might just be, in spite of all like the visually impressive stuff that happens in this movie and some of the less visually impressive stuff that happens in the movie, that scene on the boat with Thor and Jane might just be the most what's the word? It might be the scene that is sticking with me the most, because it really did feel like the most heartfelt moment of the movie, wherein they're actually talking about things and Thor is saying all the right stuff. He's actually acting like himself and not like a goofball. Well, I say that, but like, I mean, he is a goofball. Just like, he's not putting on a performance anymore, the way it felt like he was for most of this movie. Like, for most of this movie, it really did feel like Thor was showing off or putting on a performance or trying to be over the top on purpose in universe. But on that boat with Jane, it really did feel more like him, like he was just being genuine. And yeah, for that reason, that scene really sticks out to me a lot. Right. So aside from that, I mean, there are some criticisms of the film that I've seen levied against it, and that I kind of agree with. Gore not really killing a lot of people on screen. I mean, I can understand why they wouldn't do that. They don't want to go too grimdark with it, but like, it kind of undercuts the stakes when we don't really get to see him kill anybody after the first 5 or 10 or so minutes. Um, I really do feel like, and this is not the first time that this has happened with Marvel, but I really do feel like that opening scene should have been saved for later as a flashback. I say Marvel, it might have been a different superhero film, but like, this sort of thing has happened before, where the people making the movie take a scene and they put it right at the beginning where it would chronologically happen, but like, that scene doesn't provide any lead in for, or like that scene, what am I trying to say? Like, that scene happens too early. It would have been more impactful if we got that scene of Gore's origin later on, when, like, after he'd done his thing. If we got to see his origin later on, I feel like it would have been more impactful, and it would have worked better in the movie, because then we would have actually gotten to see him butcher a god after we hear him with that name. So like, yeah, I think that alone would have it would have lessened a lot of criticisms that both I and other people have. So there is that. I'm also very disappointed that they cut out the plot, subplot, whatever, of, or, well, I say cut out, but like, they decided not to pursue the subplot of Valkyrie searching for a queen. Um, yeah, that I really would have liked to have seen more of that. um, don't get me wrong, the movie has a lot of what's the right word? How's the way to put it? I mean, for fuck's sake, it has a song about rainbows playing over the credits. Like, there is no doubt that this movie is meant to be enjoyed by people who are LGBTQ, whatever. I say that in the most positive way I can. All right, it's not easy to say all the letters. Yeah, like, Rainbow Lens is practically a necessity for watching this movie. I mean, Thor has been memed to death as like the like king of the lesbians or whatever. I don't fucking know, but like, he's just been presented as an ally to people like that, and you know what? Cool. Himbo Thor is fine. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm overheating a little bit, actually. I need my air conditioner on, but I dare not turn it on while I'm recording. Oh, right. Calm down. Think clearly. What am I saying? Right. So, as much, for lack of a better way of putting this, because my brain doesn't want to work right now, as gay as the film is, I really would have liked to have seen the subplot of Valkyrie going for a queen. You know, king has to have a queen. I don't know. I really think it could have been interesting. Depending on how they, like, in what direction they take it specifically. Yeah, so there are those criticisms. I feel like there was something else. Something else. Right. Okay. So the big thing that I was thinking about is that this movie has a lot going on. And I've said that before about movies and shows, and I've usually said it as a compliment. I've usually said it as a case of, of whatever it is that I watched was very entertaining, um, and it kept me engaged, and it made excellent use of the time that it had to stuff in as much as it could. That's not the case here. So, this movie had to pick up after Endgame, in which Thor was at pretty much the lowest point we'd ever seen him. And it had to get us back to that Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor Ragnarok type tone, and it did it very, very quickly. It kind of like there was an entire movie's worth of material covered in that first montage there of Thor growing and getting back in shape and, you know, coming, like, having a realization about how he is only good for fighting and stuff like that. Like there's a lot that went into that scene and that montage. Like, too much happened there and was passed over too quickly. Um, and I kind of wish they hadn't done that. I kind of wish they'd stretched it out a little bit more. And for that matter, like, the entire film felt compressed. Like we have Thor trying to figure out who he is as a plot. We have Jane and her mighty Thor plot that kind of intersects with that and serves as like a parallel or a foil to it. We have Thor and Jane's romance rekindling. We have them going to the realm of the gods to raise an army against Gore, but also just like, it was because Marvel wanted to show off the realm of the gods. And like, there's so much that happened there that, yeah, I mean, they used it to set up a future plot with the post-credit scene where it's just like, yeah, no, we're going to send Hercules after Thor, and I totally forgot to look up the guy who played Hercules. I am going to do that, or at least try to do that, right now. And then, of course, we also have Gore himself and the Gates of Eternity and just a lot of stuff like that yeah, just, it feels like they put in too much. What the fuck? Okay. There's a lot of yeah. Hmm. Okay, where? Alright. Right. Hercules, played by Brett Goldstein. Who the fuck is this guy? Okay, let's see. Hmm. Wow. Okay. Apparently he's a guy who swears a lot. That's pretty crazy. Ted Lasso. I've heard of that show. Apparently it's pretty good. But, like, apparently that's all he really does? Huh. Like, I would think there would be more. Also, he has short hair, and Hercules in the comics usually has longer, more bushy hair. Has he really not been in anything else? Huh. Guess not. Alright, well, I mean, not the first time that Marvel has hired, an up-and-comer without a whole lot going on for their movies. So, yeah. Man, why'd they include Minerva instead of Athena? Yeah, I guess to separate her from Thena. That makes sense. Yeah. Anyways, okay. So, interesting. Hmm. All right. Where did I leave off? Right. So all the different plots that were in this movie, so much going on, and there was not enough time for all of it. And a lot of the plots and a lot of the elements that I imagine were either, Marvel forced included or whatever, um, yeah, they just didn't flow together well. Honestly, the movie shares this problem with Multiverse of Madness. I mean, both of them feature a side trip to another realm, so to in realm in quotes, because like it's not specifically a realm, but like another place where a lot of powerful people reside, and our heroes come into conflict with those people, and then there's a fight. A lot of some of the powerful people end up dead, and our hero, whatever, have to go on the run from them, from there, whatever. Like, and it's a big chunk of the movie dedicated to this diversion that ultimately amounts to very little. Like, the Thunderbolt stays around for the rest of the movie, but like, the Thunderbolt never ended up being key to Gore's defeat. Like, Thor used it as a temporary weapon and, another way to traverse the universe, which that I gotta say, that's a little bit, I don't really like that. I don't really like that so many gods and their weapons can just zip zop zoop around the universe without any real explanation or like consideration. Like it makes the Bifrost feel a lot less special, is what I'm saying. Um, and yeah, that's kind of disappointing. Uh, right. I also don't like, Sif being underutilized. I'm glad she's back. Jamie Alexander is pretty cool. And every time Sif has appeared, it's been fun. But yeah, they didn't really give her that much to do. Uh, but I think that's enough for negatives. I mean, I don't like being negative in the first place, and this isn't a very negative movie. Like, there's some stuff in it that's not super happy, but like overall it's a fairly optimistic movie, as Marvel movies tend to be, and a lot of fun. So yeah, let's focus on that. Obviously the opening fight, so to speak, of Thor versus this random army of like chicken monkeys. I don't fucking know what they were. Um, but that was a lot of fun. The music in this movie was spectacular. Like, oh, I'm trying to remember like what is the origin of me getting into this type of music. It might actually have been Megamind, honestly, just because of that movie's whole aesthetic was built around metal and rock. But like, I don't know. I don't think that's quite it. Right, right. There was a project I keep trying to get off the ground. Still not there yet. Um, but part of that project was me looking up uh metal and rock songs, especially stuff from the 80s, and just reveling in the sound. And yeah, ever since then I've just been into it. Like, I'm not. I've never been the kind of guy who cares where music comes from. Like, in terms of, I don't have any loyalty to a band or a record label or anything like that. All I care about is whether an individual song suits my tastes. And yeah, that results in me skipping around a lot and, never really caring about the who's and what's of a song and music. So it's more individual stuff that I care about. So like, I know Metallica's pretty basic, but they have some good songs. AC/DC, obviously, Judas Priest. Trying to think, like, Dragon Force, like a lot. Yeah, I'm only on the surface scratching here, but like, yeah, no, uh, you can delve deeper into it and find music, but like, obviously, anybody who actually was any good in that sort of era and genre has become pretty well known by this point, even if, younger people might not always know who they are, outside of, like, maybe if they watch JoJo and references there, but, like, yeah. Um, right, so the music was great. Seeing Thor kick ass to those songs was great. Um, and then yeah, everything about Jane as Mighty Thor was pretty darn fantastic. Like, obviously, it suffers from the same problems as the rest of the film, too little time, but I like what they were able to do with the time that they had, and I look forward to seeing what they might do in the future. I don't think they would put in that post-credit scene of Jane going to Valhalla and seeing Heimdall. I don't think they would do that unless they actually had a plan for the future with that. In the comics, Thor has been to Valhalla multiple times. And obviously, there's the realm of death, Hell, named for... Oh, excuse me. I'm so sorry. Named for Hela, the goddess of death, who did not fulfill that role in the MCU, but maybe now that she has died, if she didn't make it in, or if they didn't want to let her into Valhalla, you never know. They could take it any direction they want. But that little bit of Thor will return, like, that that makes me think that they might not necessarily be referring to the character we have traditionally called Thor, especially since, as per the movie title, he kind of has a new name now of just Thunder, which, oh, I love that ending, like the lead up of the entire movie to to the title and its meaning. That I really like. And you know what? The idea of Thor trying to be a dad is kind of amazing. As is, this little girl being yeah, like, just that entire scenario is adorable, and frankly, I think it's a bold direction for them to take, because it is very different from anything I've ever heard about from the comics, and anything that I've actually seen from the comics, as well as, mythology stuff. Typically, the only children of Thor that are really mentioned or cared about, at least, from the myths, are his his twin sons who are supposed to survive Ragnarok. But we've already done Ragnarok, so yeah. I mean, it's not like they ever really cared about being mythologically accurate with the Norse gods, anyways. So there is that. But yeah, this little girl whose name is apparently Love, which that just makes me think that Gore, in his position that he had, never got around to naming his daughter. That their situation as the last survivors was so terrible that giving her a name just never came up. Um, with that being the case, yeah, that just makes the whole thing even more sad, horrifying, whatever. Um, let's see. I mean, obviously we've set up for Hercules in the future. I speculated about that earlier before the movie, and then, mentioned it in this whole tirade. Uh, trying to think, what else? I mean, is there anything else? I mean, there's a bunch of little stuff at the end, stuff that they didn't like properly follow up on that could come back around in the future. Um, yeah, this is this is another one that I feel like it might I might appreciate it more on future watch throughs. Because I know uh I have rewatched the previous movies that I've reacted to outside of Eternals. Like I have rewatched Eternals, but that Eternals isn't part of this discussion. Um, but No Way Home and Multiverse of Madness, I gave both of those movies like a pretty middling review for either of them. I was fairly critical of both, and you know, since then I have rewatched them, and that they're pretty good. They're not as good as some other Marvel movies. Um, I do think that the release schedule that Marvel has going on right now, where there's basically a new thing every other month, I think that's unsustainable. I think they need to stop with that and go back to only doing 2 or 3 projects a year. Because a lot of the projects that they're putting out right now feel very unpolished. Even the TV shows. I've been enjoying all of these projects, and I've been enjoying the TV shows, but there are there is a lot that could be done to improve upon these things, and I feel like I don't feel like the writers, the directors, the actors, anybody has the time right now to do so because they're under such a crunch to get so many projects done. Um, and that also means that the various project creators don't have a chance to meet up with each other, to see the other people's projects and incorporate those into their own. Like that was one of the big problems with Multiverse of Madness, was that the people working on it hadn't even seen WandaVision. So they had no fucking clue what happened there. And it came as a big surprise to them that actually uh, a lot of the original plot that they were writing for Multiverse of Madness ended up having to be rewritten because of the plot of WandaVision. And I feel like slowing down Marvel's release schedule might actually help with that. Um, yeah, I mean, I understand they don't want to have to take 10 years to go through the next arc of movies and whatnot. And that I get it, but like there's a reason why we were able to appreciate the movies that we had for the Infinity Saga. And it was because there was time between them, honestly. A lot of people are just skipping Marvel stuff these days because there's so much of it. They can't bring themselves to care about any individual thing because they just don't have the energy to care about all of them. And it feels like you have to care about all of them these days. Now, me, with currently endless time on my hands, and I've watched every single one of them, and frankly, I feel like I feel like there are people out there watching these shows and movies who put more thought into them than the creators do. And that's not like a endorsement of a lot of toxic fans. It's me saying that, yeah, Marvel is just going too fast with all this, and it leads to a lower quality product. It's like, how can I put this? Marvel used to feel like you were like, okay. Well, I'm gonna try for a food comparison here, Like, you go into a restaurant, all right? Not a fancy one, but like an actual restaurant where you have to sit down at a table, they come over and hand you a menu, you look through it, you take your time, you pick out what you want, you tell the waiter, they go back in the kitchen, they spend some actual time preparing stuff and making things from scratch in a lot of cases, and then they bring it out to you and it tastes fucking delicious, right? But then, then instead of that, you go to a fast food restaurant and it still tastes pretty good, but not as good. Things are coming frozen, they got preservatives in them, etc., etc. It's just not the same. And it kind of feels like we've done that with Marvel, where it's like it started out feeling like that home-cooked restaurant, but now it feels like we're getting the fast food version of what we used to have, Uh, so I don't want fast food anymore, Like, I'm still probably gonna get fast food, and I'm still probably gonna eat that, or, well, consume that fast food. The metaphor's gotten a little lost here. I'm still gonna watch Marvel stuff, obviously. I'm still gonna consume that media, and I'm still probably gonna like it. I'm just very much afraid of... I feel like Endgame and the Infinity Saga was a once-in-a-lifetime thing. That no matter what happens next, as things stand now with Marvel and with their release schedule and the way that Disney wants them to do things, I don't think they're going to be able to repeat that. No matter how many products they shove out, no matter how much, just no matter what they do, it's not going to reach the same height. And I don't have any way to fix that, honestly. Like, not only is my brain just not working right now, like, it is boiling in my skull, but, like, I don't know enough about all of this to say for sure what they should do, what direction they should go, what story should they tell. And I don't think anybody else does either, frankly. Yeah, it just... doesn't seem like that's like no, no. Anyway, not to end on a negative. Thor: Love and Thunder. Not a great movie. Not as good as Ragnarok. Um, I still. Ooh, is it better than the first Thor? That is the question. Obviously, Dark World is the worst Thor movie. Thor-centric movie, I should say. Um, and Thor Ragnarok is still the best. But between the first Thor and this one, which one is better? I'm not entirely sure. Um, yeah, no, I'm not even gonna try to debate that. They're about on the same level for me right now. That might change in the future, but for right now, yeah, I'd put it on the same level as that original Thor movie in terms of overall quality ish. Um, and yeah, it was a lot of fun, but my initial appraisal of the movie is that it is nowhere near as good as Ragnarok, and it could have been a lot better. And I feel like uh, I feel like even the people that worked on it should probably know and understand that this lacked a certain something that would have made it great. Um, you know, just a little old tweak, a little nudge in a certain direction, and it might have actually surpassed Ragnarok eventually in here. But as it stands, it's not that high up on the list, but still a solid Marvel movie, still very entertaining. I love the fucking music. I have a new song to download. Um, so I will appreciate it for that if nothing else. Right. I need sleep. So, I'm going to call that this is the end of the recording. Uh what's next? What's next is the My Hero movie. That's what's next. I'm gonna watch that tomorrow. All you people better fucking be there, right? My Hero Academia movie 3. That's what's next. Anyway, that's gonna be it for today. I forget how to end these. I'm just gonna say bye.